3, 2, 1. All right, so we're back with the third episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today it's just the three of us, so we don't have a guest on.
No friends allowed.
Nope, and we're all in our separate places with our own mics, so maybe
Jonathan's too sick to meet up today.
My stomach felt terrible, and I didn't want to go to somebody's house for multiple hours, so I'd rather just do this at home. And since it's just the three of us, I thought it would be not too bad to do this. I also kind of wanted to use my mic for a change.
Are you telling me you don't want to share?
Fancy Blue Yeti mic.
Sharing is caring.
Well, inevitably we're going to get it set up to where we're using 3 mics. Anywho, quick, one of you say something extremely interesting within the first 7 minutes and 40 seconds.
Donald Trump is going to ban flavored vapes.
The reason I say that is because according to our our YouTube analytics, the average view time of our hour-long podcast is 7 minutes, 40 seconds. So we got to hook them in the first little bit.
We got to get them in the 7-minute window.
Right. Honestly, I'm just happy they listened to the 7 minutes.
Oh yeah, I just feel bad because we say so much at the tail end of the podcast.
Well, that's because we've been talking for a while and we know what we want to talk about at that point. So we're the points are really rattling off at that point.
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
The only thing I want to say is before we get into topics, I just wanted to say in the beginning now for anybody who only listens to a little bit, because I do understand some people who don't listen to podcasts on the regular don't want to sit down.
No, you have to watch the whole
for an entire hour. We appreciate the people who listen to an hour and they hear that at the end of the podcast. But even people who just tune in for a little bit, I'll say at the beginning now, we do appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast. And any feedback, like comments. I know the last time we talked about comments on the video, we would look at them. But we mentioned that at the very tail end. So
oh, yeah.
I'll say if anybody comments on any of our videos or makes any comments to any of us, we'll definitely shout you out during the podcast. And then we have, whether it's on YouTube, us individually, or our Twitter, which is talk_louder. So there, I've done all my end of the podcast plugs at the beginning now. So, but on that note, what I do want to talk about is I know you guys don't watch the videos.
I actually looked at the second video's comments.
Yeah, I actually went back and watched the second one. That's kind of almost what I want to talk about today. Is something I noticed while watching the second podcast or listening to. I guess you don't really watch podcasts.
Yeah, so the one I saw that I really liked, the first one I didn't see this one, but I think I know who put it. Was YouTube user #me. Kind of gave us some positive criticisms, saying what they thought we could fix the mics. We were quieter, just giving tips about how to make it easier on the ears. But they liked that we were all together, and now on the next episode we're not together.
Immediately rescind that one.
I don't know. I don't.
Bye.
I don't know if it's necessarily. It was nicer for us to all be in the same room together, but I also don't know how much of that was in the first episode. I don't know if that was reflective of we were just trying to get used to sitting down for an hour and talking to each other in a podcast environment, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
But anyways, but at the end, they said that they thought that they were smiling in the conversations, feeling as, quote, they were sitting at the table with us all, and they felt included for an overall joyful experience, and they can't wait for the next one. And that was the nicest thing I've seen, and has made all of it worth it.
And they watched for the whole hour, and they're the only person who did. And that's why our analytics say 7.5 minutes instead of 30 seconds.
Well, thank you,
balance this out. So yeah, thank you for the criticisms, the positive criticisms, and we're glad that you enjoy these. Bucham has made a joke about our name, calling us "Speak Up, You're Very Quiet," but he did call us his favorite talking boys. He has expressed interest in being on, so I think we're gonna pencil him in sometime in October.
Alex.
Yeah,
Alex wants to be on.
Way to dox him.
Yeah.
Giving away his anonymous.
Was I not supposed to do that?
No, you can say his first name. Just don't say his phone number.
I don't know his phone
number.
His phone number
His phone number He edited his thing.
I only know him as Alex.
And then 2 days ago, Tyson Bridges, that's their YouTube name. I assume that's their actual name, but that's their YouTube handle. Is whoever came up with the bread tie debate is a genius. Get that guy on the show. I'm assuming that's in some relation to Curtis, who originated the bread tie debate. So I bought bread yesterday. In note of the bread tie debate, I bought bread yesterday. It was a yellow tie. So I bought what? I bought Saturday bread, and it was baked on Tuesday. I was livid.
This is golden content.
It is golden content.
Bread analysis. The bread analysis podcast.
I
Well,
have
I bought
not
it
opened
today.
it yet,
I bought a
but I
Mexican
will
shop.
say, oh, nice.
I need to buy more bread. Actually, speaking of it, I made myself a sandwich the other day. Used the last of the bread.
Bread
Wow.
summarizes the human condition. We can all connect through bread, regardless of our walk in life. Everybody eats bread.
That's kind of boring.
I had one
Yes,
like
bread
really
is
deep.
kind of boring.
I got super deep in the Sephora yesterday in the mall. We were
Wow.
talking. So Cammy was looking at makeup stuff, and there was all like the sample palettes are just destroyed, like absolutely wrecked. And then I was like, you can't really leave stuff out for samples. People just destroy things if you leave them out for free use, unsupervised. Like it's the Sharpies in like an Office Depot.
Yeah.
They give you like the big pad paper, like they'll just write profanities and destroy the Sharpies and just snap them in half. And it was like that with the makeup. And then I got really deep, and I'm like, that sums up the human race. Just us. You leave stuff out. It's in our nature. We're just destructive.
John.
I'm not legitimately serious.
In
And
this-
I
no, but
see
in
the
the same
human
vein-
condition. And
In the same vein, I've been to PetSmart twice this weekend, and bought
Why have you gone to
fish.
PetSmart?
why?
I
Oh
bought
wait,
three-
they bought fish.
I bought 3 fish in total. But anyway, at the PetSmart, the one by Michael's and Kroger, like in between those two places, like near IHOP. Anyway,
Find out where we live.
at that PetSmart, someone put bleach in the pump for all their fish tanks, and all their fish died.
What?
Like intentionally, or they
Yes,
messed
literally,
up?
they have signs on the fish tanks that say, "Due to some mysterious individual poisoning our pumps, we no
Oh,
longer
somebody
we're currently
poisoned
not-"
the.
They poisoned all the fish with bleach.
You know what? I bet they don't use the bread tie. They're a serial killer.
Well, I asked the employee about it because I was like, "Dude, that's messed up." And she's like, "Yeah, it's the weirdest thing." She goes, "I think we must have like denied him buying a fish, and then he just decided to kill all of them."
What?
That's what she
Well,
said.
How do you make that leap in logic?
The
You're
funny
like,
thing,
oh,
the
they're
funny
not
thing, the
gonna-
funny thing is that they still have feeder fish because they're in an alternate tank. So the only fish they do have are the ones that are meant to be eaten, and that's the ones we bought. We have 3 of them.
You've saved them from a grim destiny.
Well, they're all safe. They're in this alternate tank. But the thing is that
No, I know. But since they're meant to be eaten anyway, it's like
oh, that's true. But they literally like so like we
No,
went
they
there,
ate them yesterday.
We went there on Friday. We went there on like Friday, and they were like still pumping all of the like bleach out of the tanks, and like all the fish, they were dead, and it was so sad. And then we went there the next day, and they had pumped all the bleach out, but they put feeder fish in them in order to test the survivability of the tanks. It's so sad.
Oh my god!
They just canaried those fish.
Just soldiers marching into the war zones.
It's crazy. Who does that? Who thought that was like a good idea? I'm gonna poison the fish at PetSmart.
Somebody who is very
What do
mad
you have to
about
do to get
being
denied
denied.
fish?
Yeah, how do you get denied for buying a fish?
I think you'd have to be the kind of person that puts bleach in the pump at PetSmart. Think about this. Hiram bought 3 fish. So Hiram went on Friday, bought 1 fish. It died the next morning. We came back, told them it died, and he bought 2 more. Okay, and they did not stop us. So imagine the person you must be in order for them to be like, no, you probably should know to fish. Jesus Christ.
What you're saying is Hiram Fish died and he blamed the PetSmart, so he put bleach.
Dude,
in all the
and
other
he didn't
ones.
even have a tank yet. He didn't put it in a tank yet because he literally only had it for one night. And they asked him what tank he had, and he was like, we got like a little tank, but we don't have a tank. It was the funniest thing. He had to like lie. Because we didn't want him to make it think we were bad owners. We just hadn't had the time to we didn't get everything yet. Because he just died the next day.
What do you mean you didn't have time to get everything? You were there to buy the fish.
Hiram's really cheap, and so he wanted. Also, his credit was only his credit card hadn't reset or whatever. He hadn't paid his bill, so he only had $1 on his card, and that fish cost 54 cents. So
that's 54% of the budget on fish.
He couldn't afford a tank or anything, just the fish itself. And so we were like, okay, well, it's okay. You can go get it tomorrow. But the fish died.
So that also implies you didn't have enough money for food either.
Yeah, that's. I think that's how he died, by the way.
The PetSmart corporate office is gonna hear this podcast, and you're gonna be barred from buying fish.
It's just a feeder fish, but I feel bad.
Actually,
I don't feel bad because it wasn't my fault. Hiram refused to buy the tank, and Hiram refused to buy the food.
Well, I mean, you probably shouldn't. You shouldn't feel guilty, but you should feel bad.
Just so everybody knows, the new fish we have, the 2 new ones, we did in fact get food, and they do in fact have a little tank.
They are in fact alive.
They are still alive. It's been a day so far, and they're alive.
Are they the feeder fish too?
Yeah, they're all feeder fish. All the other fish died.
Is that you could have gone to a different PetSmart, I imagine.
We could have. It was really funny too because the workers knew us at that point. We had been there for the last 2 days, and we were the guy who only had $1 on his card. And
amazing.
And then literally we came back the next day. And they're like, "Oh, how was your other fish?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, he died instantly."
Oh,
even though I was like, he died before we had to feed him.
We have a Talk Louder podcast exclusive. Deltarune Chapter 2 just dropped.
What's that?
Deltarune Chapter 2 is already out?
Toby Fox just tweeted Deltarune Chapter 2 official release date right now.
How long ago did he tweet this?
He just tweeted that.
Cancel the podcast.
No.
What's Delta? What are we talking about?
It's the Undertale sequel.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Well, it's not like a straight sequel.
It's not a straight
sequel. John. Donald Trump's gonna make flavored vapes illegal or something. I don't know what he's doing. What is he doing? Let's look it up.
Something. It's your topic. You should have.
Vape illegal is what I just googled.
Nice.
Illegal vapes.
Is it illegal? No, this is all silly. This is not what I want right now.
You're not going to be allowed to.
They're banning all the ones that look like that look like guns.
Oh yeah. So what happened was the first thing they think it's so most of those kids that were getting sick from I think vitamin B and their vapes, most of those were all THC. So these kids are vaping marijuana, right? And then they're getting really sick. And then they're because of that, there's so much blowback from that people are thinking about making e-cigarettes illegal, even though they're not even the cause of the issue, which I think is really silly.
What's funny is because it's not the cigarette portion; it's just they're using basically the thing, the vaporizer technology to smoke THC.
Yeah,
which isn't an e-cigarette at all, and the way they're doing it is they're getting it from shady people who are putting this substance in it that's harmful.
It's when you get vitamin E in your lungs is really bad.
Yeah, it's bad for you. Yeah. So it is a little I'm not a big fan of I don't juul and I don't really support it because my dad chews tobacco and I kind of hate that, and then my grandma, she has lung issues, so I don't really support that stuff. But it is a little silly that they're banning nicotine e-cigarettes just because some kids were doing some illegal stuff in the first place.
I think there is inherently a problem with e-cigarettes as a whole.
I don't think you can really take a stance against vaping without making a statement about also drinking and smoking, actual.
Well,
smoking.
No. The thing that I have, the point it is to make is the whole reason that there was the whole Juul thing with the mango pods and all that stuff, and how a lot of it, not necessarily all of it, not speaking for the entirety of the thing, and it's not it's a research topic of mine, but there's just a lot of stuff out there that shows that it's some of it gets advertised for it's advertised trying to target youth, and then a lot of those end up being people who couldn't legally purchase the stuff anyways. Yeah, and it's high schoolers and middle schoolers. I mean, it's a big meme. It's the middle schoolers hitting the Juul in the bathroom.
I mean, it's not even a meme though. It's a very real thing. Hiram's cousin is 12 years old and he has friends that vape.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with it, is that it's more widespread it's more desirable for youth than, smoking and drinking and stuff like that. Not to say that there aren't kids who I imagine are in middle school and drink and have some means of stealing alcohol or getting alcohol or smoking, but it's exponentially more popular.
I think it is. Yeah, that's like the whole thing where it's like vapes have created nicotine addiction in a generation that were statistically.
Well, they created its own culture.
Yeah,
basically, because it was like it like the first round of e-cigarettes I remember were just those little stick pens that like lit up blue, and they were either like just a metal one, or they would look like a cigarette. That was it.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably something versus with like how the new mods got fancier and looked like technology. And it's sort of, I guess, it's the resurgence of smoking is cool.
Dude, you know what's crazy?
Like several years ago, people used to think that like if you smoked, you're cool, and then we also didn't know that smoking was that bad for you.
I mean, a few years ago, they didn't know it was that bad for you. They've known it's bad for you for like ages now at this point, John.
Well,
Just
sorry,
No,
everyone
but
is
he's,
it's not
he's,
like
saying, he's saying
widespread.
that it's comparable.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. Oh, like vaping. Yeah, that's true. 'Cause
Yeah, he's saying
honestly,
that vaping is what smoking used to be.
I just realized this is public, so I can't out people. But there's some people that I know very closely that were vaping, and I was like, "Yo, you know it's still like bad for you, right?" And they're like, "No, it's not. It's not like smoking cigarettes." And I was like, "Well, nah, it's not that different, honestly." And they were
My
like,
favorite opinion on it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
"Well, no, that's all." I have another thing I want to talk about after this related to this, but it's kind of a segue, so you can continue talking about this first.
Well, sort of in line with what you say, I agree with you. I think if anybody does it and doesn't think that it's harmful, they're stupid.
Yeah, like it's
It is harmful. It's definitely harmful.
Smart idea.
The argument that it's better than smoking, sure, I
Maybe.
definitely think it is better than cigarettes, because cigarettes, I mean, a jewel pen isn't going to give you tar buildup.
That's true. That's true.
Chewing tobacco has fiberglass in it in small amounts so that it cuts through your gums faster, so the nicotine gets to you faster.
What the? Is that real?
Yeah,
that's real.
Some cigarettes
That's
also.
like-
Cigarettes.
What?
There was like a type of cigarettes that used to have fiberglass in them as well.
What? I've literally
I don't know if
never heard that before. That's insane. What the hell? Why is that allowed to be a thing?
Thomas O. Shelter.
I mean, yeah, it's just, I mean, the dangers in them. I mean, I personally don't think that vaping is as bad as the other alternatives of getting nicotine, and I think that people who make the switch, initially I thought it was good because people I know switched off of, a lot of members of my family have given up smoking, and I have a lot of family members who did smoke a lot, and people I've known, and then they either quit due to their own personal reasons or choosing to, and I think that's admirable, and then they also some just wanted to do e-cigarettes, which I think is better. But I think the thing is that there are some things that, like, yeah, this is crazy, whatever. But I think the opinion of it that I like the most is from Sips and Pyrian Flax, members of the Yogscast, who I listen to a lot. Over the Christmas live stream, because Pyrian's like this huge vapor, always has like this giant mod, and it's in his streams, and he talks about it. And they have a podcast called the Triforce Podcast, which I listen to a lot. And the third one on there, Lewis doesn't vape and kind of pokes jabs at him over it. And Pyrian said a thing where he's like, yeah, I know it's bad. It's better for me than when I used to smoke a pack a day. So it's an improvement there. But I don't think I'm like saving my, lungs from whatever permanently. But I choose to do this because I draw enjoyment from it. I understand that it may not be the healthiest choice, but so is eating McDonald's. The level of this, how bad it is,
Eating
obviously
McDonald's
miles
isn't
apart.
as bad as smoking, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is the level of it is not as bad, but the connection is, yes, on paper you could say if you eat fast food all the time, or like say you really love a greasy burger. If you eat greasy burgers once a week or whatever, on paper, then yeah, that's bad, and it's easy to say, if you're putting on weight or
Once a week, I wouldn't say once a week
it's
is
like
even that
calling
bad
whatever.
necessarily.
I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, but it's saying like, yeah, on paper it's not a good choice, but you choose to do it because it brings you enjoyment. And that's what Pyrian said. It's like, I know it's not a good thing, but I personally elect to do this because I draw enjoyment from doing this, and that's fine with me.
That's because you become addicted, though. That's kind of silly, in my opinion. You know what I mean? You're biologically dependent.
Yeah. So
You want to because you're biologically dependent.
I mean, I guess if you know everything going into it, that's a choice you've made, and whether or not it's smart or not, that's your individual choice.
I just think a lot of people go into it not thinking they understand what they're signing up for, but then they end up just like actually very much dependent on their like vapes. And then I was gonna say that, heck. Oh, also, it's not just like the smoking aspect that's bad for you though. It's like I think people are kind of silly about because honestly, like I know Juuls have more nicotine than cigarettes do, don't they? And the thing is that even if you don't think like the smoking aspect of it, nicotine itself is like not great for you. Like it makes you heal up like slower, like your wounds and stuff. They literally heal slower. And if you take surgery, if you use nicotine in any sort of form, your odds of dying after surgery are higher because your wounds don't heal as fast. Stuff like that. There's tons of reasons like nicotine is bad for you, and it's not all about like your lungs. I mean, what I was gonna say. Oh, you can go first.
Are we anti-big tobacco?
I am.
The podcast is.
Well, if you aren't, 2 out of 3 of us are.
I'm not gonna like. I don't want to like make. I don't think we should make anything necessarily illegal. I think people should have access to whatever. But I do agree that there needs to be rehabilitation and needs to be help for people with issues like who are addicted to these sound things. You know, I don't like the idea of like criminalizing people being a victim of their biology, but I also hate the idea of not like we gotta support them if we let them do that.
I mean, I agree. I think the ban thing that's going out right now is dumb. I don't think it constitutes being banned, especially when you look at the nitty gritty of it. Like we talked about, it's not necessarily the smoking aspect, or it's not the vape aspect. It's not what you buy in the store.
Well, I would say this:
it's causing the issues that's causing the rise.
Is also already socially acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the thing that's causing the problems is people using it for THC, and there's vitamin E in it.
That's true, and the issue is that because you could also argue that it's because that since THC is illegal, it's really hard to regulate that, and therefore that's why kids are getting hurt. Is because they're still going to do these illegal things, but now you're just making them do it in shadier ways, which can get them hurt.
There's a lot of interesting things that'll have to pan out in legislature, as you know. It seems like the nation's is drawing back on how it feels about marijuana use and stuff like that. But that already is causing a lot of like issues in a legal sense. Excuse me.
Like with banks and how since it's federally illegal, but in certain states it's illegal, they can't like put their money in banks.
Well, it's also the thing with like, well, I was saying the example I know is from if you're driving, like, if you were a truck driver where you're driving all the time or whatever, you're not allowed to be under the influence of it.
Yeah, obviously.
While you're operating a vehicle. I mean, common sense. But the thing is it's not like alcohol. They can't test it immediately and get back decent results. Like they can't, it's not as, the science isn't as accurate as
I know what you're saying. Well, then maybe we'll have to
a breathalyzer or something. Well, I mean, the thing right now is that if a cop were to pull you over, and you're a truck driver or something, and even like he can't test you to say whether or not it's for sure or not. So the thing right now is under any suspicion that you are under the influence of marijuana, you just go to jail. That's it. And you have to wait for the testing, which takes a while, and then the results are sometimes not as accurate or as telling as one would hope.
Damn.
So
we'll have to figure that out.
I mean, that's the thing. I think with everything, it'll be an awkward situation with the laws and them figuring out what things are legal and what's not.
Well, I also think it's not helping them that for a long time people couldn't do much research on this stuff.
Yeah.
Also, this is what I was going to say. Yesterday, I learned something very interesting. There's these studies where people will take psilocybin, which is the main ingredient in like magic mushrooms. And do you know, if you take smokers and you give them psilocybin, do you know after one like trial, do you know what percent of them can quit smoking for like the next? I think it's like at least 6 months.
No.
2/3.
I was gonna say I would guess 50%.
No, I couldn't guess, but it's. Yeah.
Which means that psilocybin, if it was used to like help people who smoke like quit smoking, it's like way more like successful than any other treatment we currently use. Like with the most successful being like 20% or something crazy, like stupid like that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's only 20%.
Yeah, it's like there's like there's like a success rate of like nicotine gum, and it's like only like 10%, and there's like success rates like it's like a graph I saw. They all like weren't that high, but then like psilocybin is like a very successful one. However, the another thing is that like during the like 60s and like 70s, when people were doing a lot more stuff which was like studied, back then like smoking wasn't nearly as like it was more socially acceptable. So people were taking like mind-altering drugs like LSD and psilocybin, and they were still smoking afterwards. So the issue is that they've discovered that when you take psychoactive drugs, a lot of it has to do with intent and what you want to happen while under. So if you want to smoke, you're still going to keep smoking. But if you want to quit smoking, it might be a tool to help you. So there's a lot of like talk right now into like using these things that have been kind of demonized culturally since like the 70s and 80s.
So is psilocybin? So what are like the
side effects?
Yeah.
I
Well,
can
it
look
doesn't
up.
like it doesn't cause you like trip or anything, right? Like the
No.
mushroom is just
So,
something that's found in. It's not a hallucinogenic.
No, it is.
Oh, it is. Well, okay, so then we get into the weird point of making a hallucinogenic legally.
Well, actually,
sound.
psilocybin actually recently was legalized in Colorado.
No, well, Colorado's just legalized.
And in Netherlands, it was illegal until recently. It's like I can't even spell psilocybin because I'm not smart.
I have no idea how to. I would
wait. I'm gonna.
it starts
Got it.
with the
Psilocybin. So yeah, no, like you're freaking out, John. Like it is like a, and that's the thing. Like, it's important.
Yeah, see, that's where it'll be. I don't know. That's one of those things that it's gonna take.
It's all about set and setting.
I don't know what the right call is personally. I don't know if I would say that it's okay to use a.
It is the kind of thing where you can feel like you died.
I think that's a really, really gray area.
Well, the thing is that the idea is that if we legalized it and we used it for like medical uses, because it does have there's studies that show that people with anxiety and depression after like just one trip on psilocybin, they're like, so there was a study with people with depression, and almost actually I think every candidate said in some capacity they felt a little less depressed after they took psilocybin. And then people with anxiety, they showed like drastic decreases in anxiety, because the whole thing was like whenever they were anxious, they would just kind of go back to the way they felt before, and they felt fine. Like it just gives them like a greater sense of like reality almost. It's a weird thing. It's just an odd thing, and I thought it was. I don't necessarily agree with for recreational use of anything like that necessarily, but I do think it's interesting to research like mental health reasons for it as a medicine, because it can be helpful.
It's just one of those like in a perfect world, then yeah, that'd be great if we could use this in scenarios of people who want to use it for the positive things that research has shown to come out of it. But I mean, it's that thing with like medicinal marijuana at first, when that was like, they just eased up enough for medicinal marijuana, you could get a prescription for that, or people were trying to get fake prescriptions or doing stuff so they could get it to use recreationally.
That's true, but
I don't think that's cool in any sense of getting a drug to use for not its original purpose. And I think with hallucinogenics, it's a harder line to draw. It's a super gray area. Like I said, in a perfect world, if you're using them for whatever intended purposes, whether it's to help cure anxiety, stop smoking, help with your depression, then that's perfect. But I just think,
because they're non-addictive, I don't necessarily agree. Because I think you could argue that we already like Percocets and like Xanax, like these are things we do prescribe and we do think are okay to prescribe to people, but they're super addictive and people use them all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to see what things are legal and don't get demonized and things that aren't legal but are demonized, and weighing the.
That's what I was trying to get at earlier when I said you can't talk about it without talking about like alcohol and cigarettes, basically, as I wasn't trying to draw any sort of like jurisdictional like comparisons. I was trying to say that like the public perception of these things is very like fragile in a sense.
That's true.
That's the other thing is why I don't think that psilocybin would ever be, not in any time soon, you'd be able to see it being able to receive a prescription, just because of how the public's opinion on it is.
Wait, I'm pretty sure.
Outside of Colorado, obviously.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, well, not really, because I don't know. There are like I don't know. I think it could happen much faster than you imagine, especially with like the way like marijuana is kind of growing out of like nowhere. Like everybody's like, I think like 68% of Americans believe in the legalization of marijuana. Some crazy number like that. Like my dad, I think my dad's a very conservative man, And he's like doesn't seem to really care at this point. He's just like, it's whatever. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's a really gray area. I want to play devil's advocate for it, but I don't know. I definitely don't know enough on the subject to super, argue a certain side or argue against the side.
Do y'all want to talk about how the penalty for crack is worse than the penalty for cocaine?
Well, I
Other
have
than just
Yeah,
saying that.
I wouldn't be able to like say anything about that. I don't know
It's
what
kind
the
of-
I don't have a
Joke.
whole lot to weigh in on these.
Yeah,
kinds of
exactly.
conversations.
That one was kind of a joke. We can move topics.
Well, anyways, drawing it back, back into everything. Yeah, I think that there's just a lot of gray areas for it. It's cool that science is proving that there's a lot of positive stuff that come out of it. But I mean, just going back to vaping and stuff now. I mean, initially it was sort of marketed as this healthier alternative to smoking. And then there were some instances of where it was marketed as a way to quit smoking. But I don't think anybody initially could have seen that, there was going to be this tiny metal stick called a jewel, and then middle schoolers are smoking it in the bathroom. I mean, there's no way to really know what kind of ramifications are going to happen from certain things, or like new technology and stuff like that.
Dude,
So
there's schools with vape detectors. Like,
that's
they're
good. I
standard.
don't think they need to be in schools. So.
That's crazy in the first place. That's like necessary. They had designed detectors
Yeah,
that
and
detect
there's
steam.
the guy who probably made the first thing to take whatever the liquid is and infuse it with nicotine and It was like, this is a better thing for smoking. They had no idea that there would be vape detectors in schools.
That's crazy.
So yeah, you just have no idea the ramifications of technology and stuff like that. Not saying technology is bad. It's just,
I hate technology.
I keep saying it.
I'm
There's
Jonathan.
so much.
I hate
gray
technology
to
because it
it.
won't let me vape while I'm in middle school.
Well, no, you like technology.
Did you all
because
know
it
that
is
the
great.
Amish have a lower rate of depression and ADHD?
Because they don't vape.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
because they don't have
I
the.
think it's actually because they're.
It's because they don't have the technology, so they can vape in middle school.
Well, no,
They don't have vape detectors,
I
do
think it
they?
actually a lot has to do with social media, and just how they have to interact with people on a one basis more. But
We talk a lot about that in my class that I'm just in. It's like a lot of like ad companies and stuff like that on social media platforms are trying to create more online groups, sort of, if that makes any sense. I'm explaining this poorly. But it's because of this thing titled like social aloneness, and it's that you can get on social media and you see all your friends doing stuff, and the big thing is like FOMO, fear of missing out.
yeah,
On paper, social media is a way to connect people from all across the world in different walks through pictures and media and stuff like that, or follow celebrities. But what they're finding is that it's just making people. You find instances of people who are more depressed because of it, or become addicted to social media in a sense.
Well, that's part of the reason why I'm not on social media.
Yeah, I deleted my Instagram.
Yeah, I was gonna say you deleted your Instagram because of sort of that whole conversation.
It brings stuff to your attention that you really don't need to know. Like, I do not need to know when the girl from high school was on the beach right now. Like, I just don't need to know that, and I don't want to feel like, oh wow, I wish I was on the beach. It's a negative thought. I'd much rather just go upon my life being like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, social media as a whole, I think, is just so vast, and there's just so many different outlets and so many different uses for it, I guess. So like, Cami and I were talking about this, and we were talking about Facebook. So most people who use Facebook, it's a very like localized social media, if that makes sense. Your friends and the people you're seeing post are like
your family and stuff.
Yeah, friends, family, people you go to school with, live in the same town as you, yada yada yada. So in that, it's just like a news outlet, or like the posting board at the marketplace or whatever. It's just sort of just like localized information, and it changes based on where you live. But and in those instances is where you see, I'd say, more social aloneness than people who are part of Twitter. I don't use Twitter a whole lot, but I'm getting into it. It feels different on Twitter because it seems less.
I feel like on Twitter you have more choice.
The idea behind it is more. Yeah, it also seems like it's catering you to follow less. It's less about like local stuff and more about like worldly may be the wrong term, but it's just like more like a community. Like you see a lot of people on Twitter who have like, they create accounts around certain niche interest or something, and then it builds a community around that. It's sort of like Discord with Discord channels. I went through a purge. Thanos snapped my Discord because I was in so many channels for so many different things, and I just left them all.
I
Had MapleStory one.
I almost did that where I almost left a bunch of them, but then I just put them all in like one folder, and I just have never opened that folder because I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave them, and I think that is like the same what you were talking about earlier, the fear of missing out or whatever.
Yeah, because
Like I couldn't bring myself
once you
to
sort of feel a part of something, you don't want to leave it.
But I also didn't want to be bothered by it, so even though I didn't like delete them or quit the server or whatever, I just
because it's funny because
tucked it away.
On paper, you're saying that you're basically like addressing it right there. You're saying I don't want to be annoyed by it, and I don't really like. You said you don't open the folder, so you don't actively participate in these communities or anything like that. So you don't get any use out of it whatsoever, or probably read half of them, or at 90.
So Borderlands 3, is it good?
I like it a whole lot.
I'm having a lot of fun too. And we played the same character, interestingly enough.
What characters did you? Okay, first, I've not played any of Borderlands 3.
That's where I was gonna go. I was gonna ask you if you
no story spoilers because I do want to play it.
Dude,
but
it's crazy when
who are the 4 Vault Hunters in Borderlands?
I want to do it.
Zane, Amara, Flack, and Mose.
Okay, but you can tell me their names. That doesn't tell me what they do.
Zane is the operative. He's he has an Irish accent, and he's basically an Irish James Bond. Or his abilities are he's got a bunch of gadgets, whether it's a drone that you send out as like a pet. He's got his clone that he can send out. That's like a hologram, but it'll fight for you, and you can teleport to it and like switch places with it, and like it can basically become like a temporary tank. It's like an aggro drop.
Okay.
Or there's his just barrier. He can just drop down like a wall that just soaks up damage. Mose she just summons. She's Titanfall.
Yeah, she's Titanfall.
Easy peasy. She summons a big mech, and she gets in the mech, and then her skills are her tree is pretty much about augmenting the mech.
Okay.
There's the Siren, which if you play Borderlands at any capacity, Siren is the best I can explain it to you is the equivalent of a wizard.
Well, no, I've played Borderlands. I played Borderlands 2. I just haven't played any Borderlands 3. Borderlands. No, I said I haven't played Borderlands 3, so no story spoilers.
Okay, she's a Siren, but she's like the melee Siren, if that makes sense.
Okay.
She's buff.
Yeah, I remember from the trailer.
Siren powers are really big muscular arms.
Yeah, from the trailer, she was really like swole and stuff.
She got punches.
And then the other one is Flack, who is aesthetically is my favorite. Design-wise is my favorite. But play-wise, I ended up going with Zane because I think the gameplay of Zane is more fun. But Flack is like this big robot who has different animals from the Borderlands that he's like tamed that work for him because he's like the alpha of the pack.
Okay.
So he's your like typical pet class, but he's also the sniper one. He's more focused on like long range combat and stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, his pets are really cool. As you go down the trees, because your 3 trees are different pets, and then you just go down the trees.
Okay.
They change.
So when I played Borderlands 2, I played the Commando because I liked having the turret apply slag for me.
Well, slag is out of this one. They removed slag.
Okay, well,
because slag was just the stupidest thing they ever put in the game.
Yeah, it was just you applied slag to all enemies or lost the game.
Slag was basically, and this is only going to mean anything to Tom, was protect. In that you used it to increase your damage output, and the whole end game was based around you slagging enemies to do damage output. So it became a mechanic that you had to run or you couldn't do the content when the solution is just remove slag and lower enemies' health.
That's because slag gave you like a 20 times damage multiplier. It was actually insane.
Yeah, you couldn't do the in-game content without slagging. Like the best builds were like you would play the guy who could dual wield, and then you had a gun that would slag, and you had a gun that did high damage, and you just won. But as far as turret goes, I mean, did you like it because it was a turret or because it applied slag?
I liked it because it applied slag and had a shield and could like heal me and picked me up when I got downed. It's basically just a second player.
You basically want to play Flak because he's the pet class. That's what it does. Your pet can pick you up. Some of the pets, he has the highest HP regen in the game if you spec him a certain way. His pets bring different passives to you. You can like order them to do things. He also has an ability where he can summon racks like fireballs and just cast them, and they'll go
like
target
Mordecai.
something. Yeah, he's Mordecai, but more fun because we bought the. I'll go ahead and say this is probably gonna dominate the last part of us talking. So if anyone has no interest in Borderlands whatsoever, now's a good time to check out. Because it's all I want to talk about. But yeah, it's funny. We played at the end of last semester. We got the Handsome Jack collection, which was for like $20. It was Borderlands 1, 2, and the pre-sequel. So me and my friends played. We want to do it chronologically, which is Borderlands 1, the pre-sequel, and then 2. And I had never played the pre-sequel. And it's funny after playing, because I played a lot of 2 when it came out. And you go back and play 1, and that game, like, it has a lot of good memories. And I mean, it's everything that makes Borderlands with the humor and the art style and just the looter shooter. But it is so dry and it feels so empty compared to the newer ones. No, the first one, Borderlands.
Oh, the first one? Oh, you're right. It does have a lot less. But the thing is that
I think that's the thing with any game, though, is once you play, if you play the newest edition of a game right now, and you're like, whoa, I love this. I want to go play the first one.
They also really didn't know like every character's like position in the world, you know? Like they had to like kind of form that over time. They've refined the way Claptrap is and stuff and like defined him pretty much. But some people actually preferred it because they think that the humor now is a little bit childish at times, which I understand too.
No. I think they're really like hitting it on the head with the direction and everything. I love it. I think 3 is extremely good. I mean, it's a perfect sequel. I think as far as sequels go, it's not. They added on content. They made so many quality of life improvements. And the thing with the graphics is because of the way that game is made, that's sort of that cartoony style. It doesn't really necessarily age too bad. Like you could go play Borderlands 1 right now, and like
have you noticed,
it's like older.
The differences now, though.
Well, the thing is I said that when I first started up, I made a comment. I'm like, based, the graphics wise, I don't feel like this is that different because I didn't play Borderlands 2 since Borderlands 2. We never got to that one in the when we bought the Handsome Jack collection. So I hadn't played that in like 6 years because that's how far these games apart were, right? Borderlands 2 and 3 was 7 years or something. And I had played Borderlands 2 for about a year. So in my mind, when I started playing this, because, the art style and everything, this is a Borderlands game, my memories, I guess, sort of got tainted because I was thinking about Borderlands 2 and I'm like, yeah, it sort of looks like, this is what it looked like. And I looked at a video of Borderlands 2 this morning. It's night and day. It's so unbelievably different.
I had the exact opposite experience as you because I actually hadn't played Borderlands 2. It's like, again, since it was like big. But like I got on and instantly was like, Matt, like they've changed things and like the heads of characters are bigger. I was like, the game, it looks more like a comic book. They've refined it. They've made it more comic booky than it was before.
I think it's good. I think everything they did is good.
I think it looks
good. If you look at Lilith's model in this one and the last one, it's just
I actually don't know if I like the way she looks now. Her head's so big. I mean, like
the only thing I don't like, and it's not really spoiler territory because it's the first thing that happens in the 10 seconds of the game. But you may remember this, Tom. Do you know how when like the siren, when Angel's talking to you in the first one, the second one, you get like it's like the fuzzy like bit in the middle of your screen where it's like a zoom in of a real girl, but it's like her eyes.
Yeah.
They
did that for Lilith.
To it, yeah.
Oh.
Where Lilith is talking to you, but it's a real person made to look like Lilith. But the problem with that is with Angel, we saw the real person through the projection, and then we saw Angel as a Borderlands character.
But
and
now
we already know what Lilith looks like, and we've seen her in this comic book art style, and then they throw us like a real human face, and that was the most jarring thing.
It was very jarring. Also, I didn't like what they did to Marcus, like his appearance-wise.
He feels a little, yeah.
They give him a ponytail. It's not spoilers. He's literally in the beginning. He just has a little ponytail, a little rat tail. I don't know. There's also another argument I don't think I don't like 100% is because me and Matt were talking about this. Is like is it tykes? Is that what they call them now?
Tinks.
Tinks. So like the little people of like the game, and they've like completely changed them to where now they're kind of bulbous, a little bubbly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When like before they were just like little bandits. Now they're like almost like babies.
Well,
It's
in
like
Borderlands 1 and 2, they were just midgets.
yeah, which honestly they looked. I feel like I kind of liked the aesthetic. Like it was almost better, and now they're like kind of creepy.
So yeah, so in like Borderlands 1 and 2, they just looked like
Also, do you think they
shot
changed the
somebody
name of them?
with
Do
a
you think they
yeah.
changed the name of them to not be offensive?
Yeah, that's why they used to be midgets and now they're tinks.
Yeah, I just
It's
figured
from
that
that.
out.
It's like that John Mulaney thing where he's like, "You can't say midget on TV." I sure would like to.
Jeez,
You can't say midget.
I'm not sure calling them tinks is really an upgrade.
I think there's just like a complete, like you said. So they look like the gnomes from World of Warcraft. That's what their models look like. They look horrifying, and they don't look like they
They used
look
to
like
have-
they're a different race.
Yeah, they look just like normal people,
Or
but
not
now they're
different race,
like
but
little
a different
monsters.
species. Yeah. So I think that may have been their goal, is they just wanted a complete severance from midgets. So like, if they had
I don't
made,
even think so. I think it's supposed to be like radio, like like some mutant shit.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, I think from like a marketing, like a PR point of view, that's what they did, was they wanted to get rid of midgets because they were worried in social conditions nowadays that would be offensive to include midgets as an enemy type. So they were like, we'll make them tinks now. But then someone was like, well, we can't just take the old models and just name them tinks because people are going to comment on the name. And he's like, all right, new idea. We just throw midgets out completely without saying anything, and we just introduce a new small person enemy.
No,
type.
I don't think that's at all what they did. I think they just happened to like upgrade their art style, and it happens to make they did change them, but I don't think it was necessarily intentional to distance itself from what it used to be. I think the name changes for that purpose, but I don't think they're still the same thing.
But they don't resemble it at all.
They really, I mean, they're not that different, Jonathan.
Well, the midgets were just like shrunken down versions of the psychos.
They were
in
but
the
these are
first one.
little, like,
They still had the psycho masks on everything. In this one, the tinks are just like, they feel separate at all. Like they look like completely different people. I don't know.
So before they looked like little bandits, but now they're just like they look more. I don't know how to say this. This is such a weird topic to talk about now that I'm thinking about it. They just look more like it's just like a different art style. You know, it's this. They're still. God, can I say the word midgets?
I've said it like 6 times.
They're still midgets. Like the tinks are still midgets. They're just
the thing is they're not. Well, like you said, they look completely different. I think that's what they went for. Is they wanted to completely scrap the midget and they're replacing.
See, I have no idea what you all are talking about because I haven't played the game, so I don't know if they like look different.
I don't think it's an update. I think they just swapped out 2 things.
Even the bandits look completely different. Like the bandits, like their body proportions are different. Everything's more comic booky. I just said this. So for the tinks, think about this. They now have like psychos of all races and genders. So the thing is that to say that just because they made the midgets look different means they're different things, I think is a little bit silly.
Well, you said it yourself. They don't even look like they're the same species.
They're not that crazy, Jonathan. They just look like babies. They look like baby people. Which, to be honest, they don't. They do look still like midgets. Like they're like. This sounds so offensive. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Well, we're not saying. We're not the ones deciding whether they're in the game or not. We're just making a comparison of these 2 things. This game is already.
They're still, but the thing is that they're not. They look like aliens. They're still just little midgets. Which I'm sorry to say the word midget.
Well, they don't look like aliens. Like I said, they look like the gnomes out of World of Warcraft. They're still humanoid.
The gnomes out of World of Warcraft.
I mean, did you watch Joker D hit 60 in Classic WoW? He played a gnome. I know what that looks like.
I watched an Asmongold video today, and it made me want to delete my YouTube account.
Never watch an Asmongold video. Asmongold is, by and large, the worst YouTube personality for World of Warcraft known to the planet. He's so
He's
awful.
the worst YouTube personality I've ever listened to.
Yeah, Asmongold is... He's everything from a hypocrite to an idiot, so... Like, it's a hot take on Asmongold, but because a lot of people like him. But
do they?
Yes, Asmongold is the most popular YouTube personality for World of Warcraft.
Do you think he's popular because it's like that infamous popular? It's because he's this sort of like
he's
toxic,
I think he's
trashy.
fun to watch.
It's because even though he's really mean-spirited and really not a nice person and really cruel and a hypocrite, and all he wants to do is trash on people and talk about how amazing he is, he's pretty decent at retail World of Warcraft.
Oh, I only watch the videos where he gets like beat in his like mount showcase things because I like watching him lose.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what attracts me to him, even though I hate his personality. I like when that character loses.
Yeah, Asmon is really not what you would call like a good person, or even
That's
really
fine.
like good at World of Warcraft. He's just like, he's played long enough for everything he does to look impressive, basically, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's with anything like in an MMO. If you time sink it for so long enough, like you don't have to be the best at PvP or anything, but like if you, it's like AQ Worlds. I played AQ Worlds the year it came out, so now I'm cool in the game because I have gear that's 10 years old. But I'm
Yeah.
not good at the game. I'm nowhere near max level because I don't play it anymore. But I could log on right now and people would be like, "Show me your account," just because I've got
Talking about WoW.
legacy. No, I'm equating it to Adventure Quest Worlds. But the thing with Asmongold is he's got all this prestige because it's basically legacy. You've been around the game long enough, you accrue things that people don't go for anymore, things that you can't get anymore, and that builds up value. And it's not because you were a good player at that time. It was just you were a player at that time, and you still are a player.
John, I'm gonna say it. I think thinking that tinks are completely different things from the midgets before in the other games is a hot take. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, they're definitely not the worst enemy type in the game right now. But
I'm not that far in the
figure that
game,
out.
so I don't know if I can say
Are
that.
Varkids still in Borderlands 3?
The weird bug things?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I just fought one.
Can you still do Varkid farming in Borderlands 3?
I don't know if it's as easy to pull off. Because don't you need like a fire weapon to get them to change?
Yeah.
Yeah. I accidentally, like at level 7, I got one to turn into a super badass. And it took a while to kill.
Because I remember me and Drew had a friend who was, and I didn't play with them, but it was like Drew and 3 other guys that were playing, and Drew kept saying that every time they would see a Varkid, they would basically start Varkid farming, and they would do that for like 2 hours, and they would spawn like that one boss.
It was one of the invincibles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Terramorphous was the only one I killed.
Yeah, and so Drew was like, it really killed my enjoyment of Borderlands 2 when everyone wanted to do was Varkid farm for better weapons.
This is funny. I never did that.
I Terramorphous farmed. I remember back when we knew how to duplicate guns.
I mean,
you had to have the conference call and you had to have the B.
Who played Borderlands back when they were like modding guns everywhere?
I actually, when I played the OG Borderlands 1 for the first time, I had bought it because all my friends were playing it. They had a full stack, and then they beat the game. And then none of them wanted to replay it with me. But one of them was a modder, and he was like, well, here's a gun. It was a machine gun that would one-hit anything. And he was like, so now you don't need us. So my Borderlands 1 experience was me playing Mordecai by myself because all my friends didn't want to play with me with a modded gun. So there was never any danger.
Oh, see,
I would use the other guns because that was like how the game was supposed to be played. But the second I was in danger, I'd pull out the modded gun and just kill everything.
No, like I beat Borderlands, and then like after I beat the original, that's like a few months later. That's when like mods were like so huge. It was so silly. Like everyone had the one shield that like would give you like infinite health all the time, and then everybody had like guns that you could literally shoot and like crash the game if you wanted to. It was so stupid. It was fun as heck though. It was fun, and we had like. Oh, there was so much good stuff. It was just fun. And like you would just, it's a fun time.
I don't have as fond memories with 1 because, like I said, that's how I played it.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun when I played recently. I guess that was like the actual experience for me because I basically knew the game inside out because I had beaten it by myself, but I never played with other people. And I played with Noah Austin and Hunter Borderlands 1, and that was a lot of fun. I remember we were joking around, we were live streaming it. And we went to an area. So that game seemed more fun in that there was less direction. So I kind of like when games don't give you as much directions because of moments like these. We stumbled into an area that was too strong for us. And we'd also been skipping. So the first one was pretty much you had to do side quests to stay on par with the level of the main scenario.
Yeah.
But I would say in 2, and it seems that way in 3, you really don't have to. And there's actually an improvement in 3 that kind of makes it to where you don't have to, where everything kind of always stays at your difficulty level. But in 2, it kind of felt like sometimes the game got easy. 3, when I'm playing with my friends, it's a consistent challenge because there's the new game mode that's cooperative, and it always syncs you to it syncs the enemies to you. So I could be playing with Noah, who's like level 19, but I'm 22.
Do you play multiplayer Borderlands 3?
Yeah, I'm playing with Noah.
I've really not played that much multiplayer. But did you hear that like if you're a lower level person and you play with a person who's a higher level, your missions sync up with their missions, and you have to restart?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was gonna join my friend
because we've been playing by ourselves. And
Yeah.
Whenever when we want to play together, we always join the person who's further back in the story.
That's smart because I almost joined my friend Matt today, and he was like, "No, don't join me. You'll be messed up," because he said like your missions will sync to mine, and then you'll have to restart. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I can still join you," but he's like, "You can't."
I didn't know. It shouldn't do that for your account.
It sounds really silly. I don't know if it's a purpose.
Wait. So like if you were on the very first quest and you joined somebody who was on the very last one,
I think
it would just like basically skip the game for you.
It would like make it just say like you're done with those missions.
Wow.
I think so. That's what he was saying to me, and I can't tell.
That feels like a really big error.
I don't think
tested it, nor do I want to.
I haven't tested it either. That's just what he said, and I was like, "That's crazy." And he said, "Yeah,
if you have multiple character slots, you should make a new character."
Yeah,
just like a throwaway character, join him, and then see if it's ruined that save.
That's true. Can we do it right now?
No.
Live on the podcast.
Live from
Speaking of live and speaking of Borderlands, I think what they're doing with Twitch streaming is genius.
What are they doing with Twitch streaming?
The EchoCast. So if you're watching the live stream, you sync your Twitch account to your Borderlands 3 account through, I think, Shift, but I'm not sure. Yeah. And you could watch like your favorite streamer, and whenever he opens a chest, he runs a program, an add-on that Gearbox made. That he opens a chest. The Twitch knows everything he opened. Will then roll a chance of everybody who's watching live to get that loot, and then if you win the loot, it gets sent directly to your account. And then you open up your mail in Borderlands 3, and then you get that gun.
That's really cool.
A copy of that gun. There's also things where like the badass enemies can be named after your Twitch viewers.
That's actually that's really smart.
And then the Twitch, I don't know if it's through donations or just like interacting, but they can vote on things to put in loot pinatas. So when you kill a boss, a loot pinata will drop. And it will just like your chat could vote on rare, or they could vote on grenades. And then Broman almost got killed by his chat because he killed the boss to open the pinata, and it dropped like 20 grenades and almost killed him. So I think it's just furthering that interaction between viewer and streamer.
Yeah,
it's super smart, and I think it's just gonna make it.
I already really enjoy how like even if I'm not in my friends' games, it will show up on the side of me like. I'll be playing, and my friend Matt will be playing, and it will literally be like, "Oh, Matt, open this and that." And
that's really cool. Yeah. Because when we're doing it, Hunter and I will be farming bosses, and it's easier to just farm solo than it is with a person, because then he loads in, and then I have to join him, and then we both have to leave, and then load back to load the instance again to farm. So it's easier to just farm on our own. But I could be doing a mission, and then he could be farming, and then it'll pop up the real HRH just looted the conference call or whatever. And it'll tell me what legendary he just picked up. It'll tell me what boss he just killed. So I thought that's really cool.
I wonder if Steam will have those features, or if that's tied to like the Epic Games launcher.
I think it might probably. It's actually a really good question. But I think that Steam could probably do it too.
I think that was a gypped deal, and I feel sorry for Steam. But I feel sorry for the people who are so passionate about it, they refuse to buy it until it comes out on Steam.
I mean, I'm not going to buy it on the Epic Games launcher. That's just because I don't appreciate the things that the Epic Games launcher does.
So did Jacob and all his friends, but they all own it, so.
But
it started because one of our friends didn't care, so he was going to do it anyway.
Well, a bunch of my friends bought it, and I haven't bought Borderlands 3. But I'm also not super. I was going to say, I'm not super passionate about Borderlands 3. But I'm
playing it on Xbox right now, and there's no cross platforms. So if you're waiting for it to come out on Steam, I'll buy it with you. X
Yeah.
amount of months down
Well,
the road.
See,
and
my
I'll
I'm
play
friends
it
gonna
with you.
not only am I waiting for it to come out on Steam, I'm gonna wait for it to go on sale after it comes out on Steam. Like
Jesus.
I have no like push comes to shove to buy Borderlands 3.
See, my
So-
friends were also
From-
worried about if you can play on the Epic game launcher and Steam and like play with each other or not. That was like another thing we're like really freaked out about.
Yeah.
Like, do you think Steam
Thing
players
with
are gonna
this
be able to play
one-
with Epic players?
Yeah, it's.
I don't know, man.
I think they will. If I'm being honest,
I hope so.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, but
Yeah, that'd be stupid. if
that
not.
would seem silly, but who knows?
That's
um,
what. That's what.
Yeah, I was really not super excited about this game. I kind of was just like, oh, I'll probably get it because my friends will be playing it and that'll be fun. And I was trying to stay away from gameplay trailers, and I watched one, and I was like so excited the week leading up to the release. And I've been really satisfied. It's been the most enjoyable game I've bought in a long time. It's the first time I've been this excited about playing a video game in a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty same, honestly. But I need to stick up with school, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
that's another
Shadowbringers was
reason
kind
why
of
I'm
exciting,
not,
but I didn't stick with Shadowbringers.
I'm excited for Animal Crossing.
I think the next two will be Pokemon and Animal Crossing.
I'm gonna play the heck out of Animal Crossing.
I'm
Towards
not
them
excited
flying.
for Pokemon. No,
You
not
know,
one
we
bit.
don't have enough time in this episode to have.
You
all the
keep
games.
putting it off. One of these days.
But anywho, yeah. So this is the one where we talked about drugs and video games for an hour and 10 minutes.
That's
So
pretty epic. You title it
that's
that.
what happens when we don't have a guest. That's what we talk about.
The drawing.
It's drugs and video games.
Yeah. So I don't know who for sure is going to be on next week. But yeah, ideally we'll probably do something in this sense of just the three of us talking. It could be more related to. I kind of wanted to weave in some stories about stuff that happened this week, but we kind of got caught on tangents. But anywho, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up for this week. We talked for a while.
My name
But-
is Jacob, and thank you for listening.